All aboard and welcome to a galaxy far, far away as we are finally getting around to talking about Star Wars Visions Volume 1. We kept threatening we were going to do it. Well, now we're finally doing it. Here on Animation Station, I am, of course, Sparkz Witty, joined as infrequently on Animation Station, but happy to be joined by Ryan Eleopolous.
Dank Ferrick, am I glad to be here.
Ooh, wow.
Sorry, I swore in the first minute. Sorry, guys.
And of course, Brandon T. McClure.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
And yeah, we're going to be going and sharing our thoughts on all 9 of the first volume of Star Wars Visions before the second one comes out, just in a matter of days from this recording.
Ooh. Well, it was that was the inspiration because, you know, like, I don't know how we all were in terms of viewing this, but I certainly haven't watched it. Not for lack of wanting to, just there's a lot of stuff in the world, right? And then they threatened us with the season 2 and a great trailer. Well, I'm like, oh, all right, I guess I gotta watch it now. And I'm glad I did.
I'm always, and like, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to immediately have shown how I didn't do it. But like, I'm always of a mind when things like this come out that like, oh man, I don't want to like binge watch them.
Yes.
And so like, I'm like, I want to like let each one sit on its own so I can think about it. And that's what I try and do. And that's what I tried to do, which is how I did the first 3 when this first came out. And then the things happen and you forget and you don't go back and all that kind of stuff.
Was this last year or 2 years?
2 years.
2 years? Okay.
No.
Man.
Wow.
And that's what happens is that I just then you fall away and then you end up being like, oh no, I need to binge it all. And then
oh no, season 2 comes out in 3 days.
Oh no, these things can't stand on their own
The
anymore.
good thing is it's not like we had to watch like 12 hours of an Andor. It was like less than 3 hours of a bunch of cool animated shorts. So,
right.
you know, wasn't the worst thing ever.
No, of course not.
Yeah, I watched this pretty quickly when it came out, but I hadn't revisited it in a while. I'll be clear. When I say I haven't revisited in a while, I haven't revisited the whole thing in a while because I watched episode 3 religiously.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I will continue to do so probably.
Brandon gets up in the morning, puts on the Twins, goes about his day, gets into bed, puts on the Twins.
And
you're not that far off.
20-minute sizzle, yeah.
Yeah, I knew you had a big passion for the Twins, so I thought at bare minimum that's worth talking about. But yeah, we'll dive into all 9. Brandon, where are we starting?
We're starting with The Duel.
Yes.
Directed by Takanobu Mizuno, written by Takashi Okazaki.
Yep.
From Studio Kamikaze Duga.
Yes.
Yeah, I did it.
You did it. You did it. This is the I think we've all kind of mentioned this one on the Figner podcast before because like we all kind of caught this one because it was the first one.
Yeah.
So but this is the very like black and white Akira style, like doing the send up of something that majorly Star Wars was inspired by. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So I think that it totally belongs and has its place here. I really do enjoy this one. I think it has a sharp style.
Yeah. There's a lot of these, like half of them have like a lot more story and then other of them are more like kind of like vibes. And this one was definitely more of a vibes one. Yeah, it's just, you know, some really, really, really great art, some really great action. I wrote the first thing I know was hell yeah, a samurai probe droid mech. Because there's a probe droid, and I thought it was just a probe droid with samurai swords, but no, there's a Sebulba ass guy inside driving it like a mech.
Right. And
I'm like, that's really cool. And he's got a cool Ronin hat on. This is really cool. Very cool.
I really love the kind of feel of this episode. I love the black and white film grain that they add to it. It gives it such a good atmosphere. This is when Ryan's right. This is very much a vibes. The atmosphere in this one is they nail it. I do have a slight issue with the animation, only when it's in movement, not in the action scenes, though.
Sure.
Because there's kind of a stiffness, which we talked about before. We've talked about a lot on this kind of 3D style animation. The human figures are still very stiff.
Right.
And I think they get away with it, making it so stylized. But there are moments where I'm like, kind of like, okay, well, I can see it's kind of just like a computer has animated this rather than a person has.
Sure. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that's there. It just it bothers me less in the small amount of time we spend with it. It's
Right.
even less frequent in the amount of time that it happens. And then you don't have a lot of humanoid looking people. You got a lot of aliens and droids and stormtroopers, and that helps.
We got an umbrella lightsaber.
I love that thing so much.
Very, very cool. And it's not like the thing that I love about it is it's not an umbrella saber built that way. It is an extension that they put onto it. Then they just have a cool lightsaber fight at the end. And that's just really inventive.
I love
all these episodes have that kind of stuff.
There's a moment where like the girl, or like the Sith girl, she stabs a dude with the umbrella, and then like it fans out, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
Oh yeah. It's a cool reveal. That's like, this wandering guy, he's probably a Jedi. Oh, he's got a red lightsaber. Oh no.
Right.
Yeah. So this one is super popular. This one got very popular prior to it. They wrote a book.
Whole ass book.
It's set in this short, like in the world of this short film. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I really liked it, and that's a cool cover too. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So like I kind of went into it the first time I watched it with high hopes. I was like, oh, well, if this got a book and there's so much buzz around this one specifically, then it's going to really like be awesome. In fairness, the first time I watched it, I kind of set myself up for failure. But having watched it subsequently, most recently, just this morning, it's awesome. It's really cool. I love the action.
I have to imagine that the book, kind of like the Peach Momoko like demon world that she built. Yeah. Like I think it's just like using the aesthetic of that world, like like, oh, this is a cool Ronin world. Let's just use that entire world.
Yeah, you just redress a lot of feudal Japan over what you're doing.
I don't know if I need a whole book about that.
Right. I'm curious about it.
Here, I would say, like, sorry, just real quick. There are other ones here that we'll get to where I'm like, no, I want a book of that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love the astromech, like a little straw hat.
Yeah, I do love the hat on the droid. One of my favorite things, they're not very present in this. They're like, a couple of shots, but I just think that the Trandoshan that we get,
I love those.
Really
are my favorites.
I think they look really cool in this animation style.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I really like the fight on the log. Specifically, this is the only one where I specifically highlighted the music. Not to say the music is not good in all of these shorts, because I think it is, but in this one, I really liked the way the score was highlighting the action, specifically when they're fighting on the log.
No, I made a note of this too, that the music was exceptionally good in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's good music in general across the board, but like this one had a specifically very good score.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm not the only one who picked up on that.
I don't know. This is fun. Kyber crystal lore. It wards off evil. That's a fun little thing. They give it like an Indiana Jones at the end. Like, this will ward off evil, even though it's a Kyber crystal.
I imagine that like in the idea of this one is that like they don't step on each other's territories, kind of thing.
Oh, sure.
And so like he seeks them out, but like most of them kind of like, this is my territory. You don't interfere.
Yeah.
Like very, very much drawing it in that way.
I dig that.
If that is the idea. I did like that as like the little sizzle at the end of like the Kyber crystals in his coat. And so it's like, no, I'm not just like a former Sith in general. I hunt down the Sith.
Yeah.
The reveal.
I think the most interesting, sorry, just real quick. I think one of the most interesting things about that is that we have no reason to believe he is a Jedi. We have every reason to believe he's at bare minimum former Sith. Mm-hmm. Which means we never see a Jedi in this world, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do think because it's playing with Star Wars conventions, right? Like there's a Sith girl and a Jedi is going to come and fight him, and we are following this Ronin, so clearly it's a Jedi. But what I really love about it is the reveal. Even the first time I watched it, when he just takes out his lightsaber. By the way, I adore lightsabers coming out of samurai hilts. That's incredible every single time.
Yeah.
And it's so like when he pulls the lightsaber out and the glowing red blade, and I love the aesthetic of red working with black and white. Marvel has many comics with this aesthetic. And Werewolf by Night did the same thing. Mm-hmm. So I love that. I love that look of it. It's just it works so well as a reveal, and then and it just kind of brings in this really interesting feel of color to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I I especially like the reveal of her hair. I just thought the way that it happens is really cool. The way that it just like comes out.
It's voluminous.
Yeah. Just a really good animation moment. I love when the droid comes into the town and just starts wrecking.
Yeah.
Just firing off. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I think this one's really, really fun. It's got a good story to it, and I really like Star Wars Visions. It really sets up what Star Wars Visions is going to be, right? Like, okay, this is Star Wars remixed as in this case, feudal Japan. Like, how would this kind of look with Star Wars aesthetic and Star Wars kind of stormtroopers and aliens, but through the lens of feudal Japan? I think it sets up the whole series quite nicely, that you're going to get Star Wars, but not in the way that you're entirely familiar with.
And it doesn't start it off way too weird either. It's like it's still, the aesthetics, just a little bit of different flavor on top. Yeah.
Yeah, and as Sparkz mentioned, like, it's very much taking influence from what Star Wars took influence from. So it's kind of like pairing Star Wars back to this kind of Kurosawa-esque storytelling.
Snake eating its own tail.
I think one of the reasons it's so popular too is that it's the most palatable to a not anime audience, like a not anime heavy audience. This is still an anime, but it's probably the furthest away from anime trappings, like, because they're doing such a direct send-up of Kurosawa films, it feels more like a Kurosawa film that happens to be anime than it does like traditional anime. And I think that makes it more palatable, and is a good reason why it's the first one to start off with, because like I forgot until I went through like everything. I'm like, oh no, this is like anime. Like all of this is so, like, we were talking about Volume 2 coming out, and I'm like, I like anime, but I'm excited to see like different styles come to Star Wars and from different studios around the world. Yeah. And I forgot, like, oh no, like this whole thing is very much just in anime. It's anime city up in here.
Oh yeah.
They nailed it, right? Because like they set out to be like, okay, we want to have these anime studio. We want to give these anime studios carte blanche to do whatever they want with Star Wars. And for the most part, I think they really nailed it. This is exactly what they promised. And so far, season 2 looks to be exactly what they promised. So I'm really excited for that too.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to mention about it is that when there's no motion, like nobody moving, it looks like beautiful black and white painting artwork.
Sure.
That I really just kind of mesmerized myself with.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, very, very much knew the flavor of what it was going for, and I think nailed it pretty accurately.
You've seen The Mandalorian.
Recreating very, very typical Ronin behavior, like especially a wandering Ronin story. You have until this pot boils to fix my droid. Like this. Yes. Yeah.
And I love the guy,
like this character.
The guy, like, his way of fixing is just closing doors.
Yeah. Things are wrong. Just mashing it. Yeah.
I enjoyed this one. This is fun.
Yeah.
Tatooine Rhapsody.
I assume we're going in order.
Yes.
Yes.
I was just trying to tee him up for.
No, I get
it. Tell me the things.
The Tatooine Rhapsody is directed by Taku Kimura, written by Yasumi Atarashi?
I would say Atarashi.
Done by Studio Colorido.
Yes.
Not from Colorado.
This one is interesting because I would argue that this one is maybe the whole other end of the spectrum of anime from the previous one. I know the Twins is in here, but like this is the most like typical anime.
Sure.
Full of the anime trappings and like style and the way that it's constructed, which is really funny to me because it's also the one that not only uses characters we actually know by name from Star Wars, but arguably could exist in the Star Wars story.
Hey,
where all the others can't.
This happened right before the movie happened, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
Yeah,
like
it theoretically could. Like so like you can kind of fit. Star Wars Visions operates as kind of like puzzle pieces, and some of them are more jagged than the others that can be fit into the Star Wars lore. And this one is like the smoothest of them all, where you can be like, yeah, no, conceivably this happened before A New Hope.
This is about a Jedi kid who started a band.
Right.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, I really like this one. It is, I honestly like all of these. Like there's not a one that I dislike.
Sure.
So like once we talk about all of them, I'll see which one I like the least, but I don't know which one it is right now. I feel like it would be this one, but I'm thinking about it like it's not, just because I love how different it is, and I love that it's about music, and it's not, and it's about a punk band where like it sounds like a real punk band. Like if you listen to hardcore punk bands, like the lead singer isn't always great. It's just more about the emotion, and like they're just giving their all into it, and it's so fun. There's a Force microphone in this. Give me a break. Like a lightsaber microphone, totally cool. Totally cool. I love love the vibes.
I love that this is like Jabba's nephew.
Jabba's relative. He doesn't want to be in the family.
Some Hutt relative.
Yeah.
He is a Hutt who just wants to be in a grunge band.
Just wants to rock.
He just wants to rock.
I love that. I love that. When we so it's Joseph Gordon-Levitt is the lead and the dub for this one. He's the kid.
Yeah, okay. I should have looked at the cast, because I know there's a bunch of famous people all over this thing.
Is it Morrison back as Boba Fett?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
I could definitely tell.
Yeah.
And that's so fun, man. It's so funny hearing Tamara Morrison coming out of that chibi Boba Fett.
I love chibi.
It's not full chibi, but it's like it's definitely airing in that direction, like quasi chibi style.
I really like the animation in this one. I think it's really stylized and really fun. And like you said, like it's kind of strange that this is also the only one that uses familiar characters that we're aware of, because we also will get the actors reprising their roles, like Tamara Morrison. And so it feels a little strange to hear, like I said, Tamara Morrison coming out of this version of Boba Fett.
I really like the premise, like Jabba's nephew, let's call him, he wants to escape the crime family, and he gets caught. And like the bandmate's like, all right, we're gonna break him up, but to do so, we're gonna perform before his execution, and we gotta give permission to do so, and they get it.
Right.
And they rock the house so hard that they're like, one more song.
They're like, yo, Jabba, want to be our sponsor? Because we're gonna be the hottest shit in the galaxy.
We're gonna be the biggest band in the galaxy.
To the point where like, if there's a moment for any reason in a future Star Wars property for someone to be listening to music and it's this song, I would be like, sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
There's a bit where we get like, they're doing their big number and we're like cutting between various parts of Tatooine and we see the Jizz Band.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're loving it.
And they're like mildly sweating, like, oh shit, we're out.
You see Jabba the Hutt like a slap in his tail, having a good time.
I
Boba Fett stomping his foot.
Boba doing the head bob. I really like that. I really like that animation of Jabba like just like lightly tapping his tail.
Music brings people together. It's lovely. There's a great fight scene, and like the drummer has 6 arms, and there's a great animated moment where he just like punches 6 times in a row, spinning around. I'm like, that's like from God of War or something.
That's a really cool alien.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if like
a lightsaber guy?
Because like they have 3 upper bodies.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if like only one of them is force sensitive, and so like tries to train, or at worst 2, and one's like drawn to be a Jedi, the other's drawn to be a Sith, but they share the same body.
Stuck on you.
The other one's Jedi just a person.
Yeah.
I think the imagination in this one is really good. I love one of the things I really like about Star Wars Visions in general, which I'll bring up many times, is this kind of unshackled vision. No offense, no pun intended.
Yeah.
That they have to just kind of do whatever, and I really get that here, where it's like this one could feel like it exists in the Star Wars universe we know, but there's a dude who's got 3 bodies attached to one leg, and I just think that like I just really like the idea of this kind of grunge band in Star Wars for some reason. Like I know Star Wars has a sound, but like why not? Like, really, why not?
Well, here's the thing. Since, like, we've had now so many shows where, like, Andor introduced, like beach vibe rock.
You're right.
Like,
Mandalorian
has stuff.
The weird techno thing going on.
Yeah.
I think that the thing is, like,
it's branching out.
We have heard diegetic music so rarely in Star Wars, and it's almost always been, like, I can buy that to an extent. A planet, because we're being really simplistic, a planet has a sound. But like the galaxy doesn't have a single sound of music. Yeah. And I can buy that we can have a lot of diverse ideas of music in a galaxy as big as Star Wars.
I want to
when we have as much in our planet.
Y'all, no Jedi Survivor spoilers, but music's actually a pretty big part of that game in a way that is really, really exciting. So music is making a big impact in Star Wars.
Speaking of real quickly, Ryan mentioned this, and I want to just highlight once more the lightsaber microphone that is created from his lightsaber, his broken lightsaber, and when he can turn it on and it makes a little lightsaber sound effect as it glows. It's incredible.
Yeah,
I thought he was going to use it in some crazier way, and like I don't mind that he didn't, but I thought like by doing that he was able to like use the power of the Force to like make everyone like listen to him or something crazy in like a big revolution or something like. But it was just a good rock band still. Like it was just it's just good times.
Yeah.
Relax, guys. It's just a microphone.
Just a microphone. Yeah.
I enjoyed this one quite a lot.
No, I think it's a lot of fun. I'll always follow a story about a Star Wars band.
Hell yeah.
Mm. So I guess we should move on to the twins.
Yeah.
Directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, written by Hiromi Wakabayashi.
Yes.
Done by Studio Trigger.
Yep.
The first of Studio Trigger's shorts, because they did 2.
Right. I'll let you go off, Brandon.
Holy shit, I love this one.
As anyone listening to the Figured podcast for the past 2 years knows.
So after I watched Promare for the first time, which is directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi, I was like, I really want to watch Promare again. And I was like, I don't have time to watch a movie and I don't own this movie. I'm going to put on the Twins. And I think the Twins is an incredible, just 15-minute bite size. You want to know what Hiroyuki Imaishi is capable of doing? Here's 15 minutes of just everything he does best.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's just one of the things I really love about, we talked about when we talked about Cyberpunk Edge Runners, right? This idea that like hope can break the universe. The rules of the universe do not work as long as you have enough kind of like willpower and hope to succeed.
Right.
And same thing happens in the Star Wars universe, where it's just like, I need to break this kyber crystal. Okay, we're going to use the hyperdrive to make my lightsaber super big, and it's only going to cut that one thing and then cut the whole thing. And I'm like, yes, please, 5 more of these.
That's anime, baby.
It's just exactly. It is my favorite thing that Star Wars has ever created. I'm not saying it's my favorite, like, this is what I want all Star Wars to be. It's just like as a content machine that Star Wars is, not necessarily a long story. This is just like incredible to me.
Yeah, I love it as well. I don't love it as much as you, but like it is impossible to say like this isn't incredibly cool and awesome. My favorite is reserved for another one later. But this one is like just really fun to look at, really insane to look at. The characters are great. Every time you think that they can't get any bigger, like again, you bring up the biggest sword that cuts a thing in half. It's like It's basically like the Holdo maneuver, but with a lightsaber.
Yes.
And it's just like,
and it looks so pretty.
And it's like, holy,
like that shot right before like he completely warps away, when like space is starting to warp and the ship is split in half behind him, and he's just holding the saber. It's a good shot.
Yeah.
The animation is gorgeous in this one. I love the animation so much. Both characters are wonderfully well-rounded for so little time with them. And one of the things I really appreciate is that, they kind of use like real quick like exposition through these flashbacks of who these twins are. They were created by the Sith to be this dyad, if you will, in the Force. And that their suits power this like massive planet destroying weapon that's the most ridiculous thing ever, which is just 2 Star Destroyers glued together with a giant cylinder.
Hold on. You mean the Gemini class Star Destroyer that's powered by their Kyber crystal dark armor?
Yeah.
That's basically just a Death Star, but with just 2 ships. That's if you showed that to me in a movie, I would not be mad. I would not be mad at all.
But you got to have twins running it, because like it's like part of the thing is you got to have 2 twins operating that ship.
It's too powerful for one person.
I think it's a fun way to like kind of bend all the lore around all the lore around the original trilogy. It's like that's mostly what this pulls from, is just like the original trilogy. We're just kind of going to bend around all the ideas presented in the original trilogy. There were twins. We're going to reinterpret how that would be. There's the Empire. We'll reinterpret that. We'll reinterpret the Death Star. We'll reinterpret how kyber crystals work, and all that kind of stuff. but it's all still like aesthetically, it feels like it's driving towards the same end of what the original trilogy captured in spirit. There's that shot where you come into the ships for the first time and you have the 2 split rows, and then you go down a row, and at first, like, it's not what's happening, but it's what it looks like, right? From a far away distance, it looks like you're watching Kare do the Leia and bend down to the droid. Like, it's the same setup for the same area of like Leia. So like they're very much like thinking about like what are the things that are like hallmarks of the original trilogy that
he's stealing the planet
that are timeless in a way. And that's why you still get like landing on the planet with the 2 suns and that kind of thing. All of that is still here. Vader's design split across the 2 of them, I think is really cool, that it's different pieces show up in different ways.
I really think the humor also lands for me, at least. In this one, there's so Neil Patrick Harris plays Kare in this, and he I think he's really funny. There's the bit when the droid, I forget the droid's name now, but Duo, thank you. When he's he's beeping, he's like, "Oh no, don't worry, we got this, we'll be fine." And the blast doors open, and the stormtroopers there. He's like, "Okay, you're right," and it just kind of just keeps walking. It's like, "Okay, let's just keep going and not worry about this."
It's probably my favorite pun and joke in all of the Visions shorts is when she says, "And where were you going with that?" And he's like, "To a galaxy far, far away." Yeah, and I'm like, well,
they did it. Is that the first time this has been used in dialogue in Star Wars?
Yeah, I think so.
That's incredible. I really love the action at the end when they're just fighting on the Star Destroyer is some of the coolest things I've ever seen.
We breathe in space.
Yeah, exactly. Without their helmets.
To be fair, when they are standing on the ship, that's no different than like the end of Rise of Skywalker.
No, it's true, but then he flies
like within
into
the shield
into the atmosphere.
That's true. He stays on the outside of the ship and goes into hyperspace.
I'm just making a joke about it. I don't actually.
No. But like you're totally right. Like once he's on the ship and it warps into hyperspace, I'm like, he did.
He's forward. He's fine.
I love the one of the things I really like about Hiroyuki Imaishi is that no matter what I'm watching of his, he's going to show me like the coolest things I've ever seen. Gurren Lagann, Kill la Kill, Promare, Cyberpunk Edge Runners. I'm always just kind of like, what are you going to show me that is going to like change how I view life? And not as extreme, mind you. It's just like when she puts the Kyber crystal in her and then her armor activates and pulls out the Grievous lasers, and then she's got 2 red lightsabers, and I'm like, this is so cool. And like it's so one of the things I really like about it is the emotion. Like when she's got the lightsaber whips attached to the newly formed lightsaber that Kari has, and the music swells and the smoke clears, and I'm like, oh shit, man, like you did it.
Well, and he does the same thing that Imaishi usually likes to do visually, which is that like the big thing becomes the representation of willpower, right? So like the Kyber crystal channeling through him, the lightsaber gets insanely huge, but because it's powered by his will, he shortens it to the exact right level to bust open the other part of the crystal and also then immediately extend and slice the ship. It's really, really cool. Like it's just, totally bonkers bananas, but it's a lot of fun.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say one other thing I want to spotlight that I really like is the evil
C-3PO?
protocol droid.
I wrote that down. Oh, yeah.
By the way, speaking of breathing in space, he's the only one who gets like a space helmet at the end.
Right. Yes.
He's a droid.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That was really funny. There's a few Vision shorts that I looked at and I said, you know what, I would actually not like a series. I don't want 16 episodes of any of these, but like a couple of episodes, like a small little mini series, I think could be really interesting. And this was the first one, I believe, that I felt like I want at least a sequel to this one, because I think it does leave it open-ended and like, a lot of these are leave it like, and then there was more story, but some of these I kind of liked enough where I'm like, I would actually like to follow you into another story. And this one obviously is one of them.
There is only one that I am like actively like, I hope this gets continued in some way. And we'll talk about that one later.
Yeah.
I think I know which one it is.
I have I will say, like, in general, very general, that we could probably break down the specifics, but like there's times where I'm like, oh, this ending's pretty good. Like, yes, it leaves it open ended, but I'm like, yeah, but it's like, it's telling you, it's giving you the direction of where it's going. I'd say that this one can be one of them. But some of them like end in a way where I'm like, I feel like you're saying the better story is ahead of where I'm at right now. And that bums me out a little bit. Like, sure, where you would go next would be even better. And I'm probably not going to see that.
Right. When they first announced Star Wars Visions 2, I thought that's what it was going to be, like sequels to some of these shorts plus some new ones thrown in. I didn't, until it was announced, like, I prefer what we're getting because I think it's much more creatively freeing. Yeah, but I was a little surprised that that immediately there wasn't like, oh, let's just get some sequels to some of these.
Yeah. I'm grateful. I think I prefer my shorts to be shorts. In a general sense. Like, I like that these set up things that are interesting enough that it's like, yeah, I'd want to follow that into XYZ. But I don't want to feel like they didn't give me everything that they could with the world that they had at their disposal in that short. And I feel like, the duel kind of gives me everything I needed. I don't need more out of that. It gave me all of the taste.
What if there was a 300-page book you could read?
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not mad about it, but like, I got everything I needed out of that short.
Yeah.
Tatooine Rhapsody, obviously, easily, I got everything I needed out of that short. The twins I'm a little bit on the fence about, but I would say I got everything I needed out of it.
Right.
Well, like, I think that obviously I would watch Imaishi do anything with Star Wars that he wanted to going forward, because you'd have to have Imaishi doing it, and that would be a challenge all the time. Like, you couldn't dedicate a lot of time to it. You're not going to make a whole anime show of that world. And so I'm like, yeah, just throw it all in the kitchen sink in a single go, and like, let's move on, because like, yes, make Imaishi's really great when he makes like one great incredible banger and then moves forward.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's just I like it so much. I want to highlight one last thing though. For me, there's a moment, and it's brief, and I love it every single time it happens, when she's got the kyber crystal powering her suit, and she's got her lightsaber, her 6 lightsabers, and she's fighting, and then she does like a flip, and her heel becomes a lightsaber, and I'm like, beautiful.
She's always prepared.
The way that the armor can channel the crystal is it's a cool thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just like the idea of just a heel lightsaber if should you need it.
It's a pretty terrifying idea. Like, what if Vader's suit actually could be powered by a kyber crystal and thus channel its power through everything he had?
Like a conduit, like a wizard staff.
Yeah. How would anybody ever stop him?
He would become far too powerful.
More than we could possibly imagine, I suspect.
Yes. I also really like the idea. I know this is also from the expanded universe, but the idea of like twins being pulled between the light and the dark side, and even so, like twins being born into the dark side and one of them still being called towards the light because of his love for his sister.
That's a cool plot point, and it's a good point that you bring up. Like that's something that really got explored heavily in the expanded universe, because it feels like it should be kind of important to Star Wars, but like everything else that we've gotten that's canon, it's kind of just like it's Luke and Leia, and then nothing else is really that important when it comes to twins. And I'm like, that is a little odd that we didn't like that. Nothing else has done this story idea of like, no, twins are like a thing. Twins are like an important thing.
I think maybe because Legends wrote that into the dirt, they want to avoid it.
Yeah, no,
because like like the Han Solo kids, their kids, like there's so many sets of twins in this universe. Like I think they're maybe like, let's hold off on that.
Right.
The dyads.
There'll be twins in the new story with Rey, I'm sure.
With Helen Mirren.
I really want. Oh yeah, I've heard about that too. I really want to see canon explore it, because I think, like Sparkz said, it is important to Star Wars. But I'm happy to get like this kind of bite-sized, like, okay, well, I think it's a really nuanced look at this twin dynamic of one being pulled, one being so staunchly devoted to the dark, and one only choosing the light to protect his sister. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Should we move on?
Yes.
Let's go.
The Village Bride, directed by Hitoshi Haga, written by Takahito Onishi. Unishi, thank you. Also written by Hitoshi Haga. He wrote and directed this one. Studio is Kinema Citrus.
Ooh, oranges.
I really like how unique this one feels.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I could have gotten more out of it.
Yeah,
this is one of the weaker ones for me, only because I'm like, I don't feel like I got enough of how they were doing something really different for adapting Star Wars.
I think for me, they took way too much time with like the journey. And I'm just like, I'm not really learning anything new about this world. Like, it's a cute interaction between these people, but
it's
like
really pretty.
This isn't a TV show. This is a 15-minute short. And half of it is just on a walk.
This is one of the ones where when it was over, I was like, I feel like there's probably a better story following this character in this world ahead of what you just gave me.
I wish we could have just started the story like 15 minutes later. Like, we don't need the entire journey. You can tell me all that and then them getting to their destination. I don't need all that stuff, honestly.
Yeah, it's very much like a story. It's very much a story about getting to the story, if that kind of makes sense. And I don't agree with that to be the approach. I do like it. It's got some good. I really like the animation, and I like the characters in it. They're fun. They leave a mark for the little time that we're in it. But by the end of the story, the character has the Jedi character who is the lead. Where she has an arc of like, okay, well now I'm going to go protect the galaxy. But it's like, okay, but that's the story I think we should have been following.
Yeah, it's another one where like it's kind of interesting that we don't see a Sith in this one.
Mm-hmm.
We get the implication of one. We see a flash of a red lightsaber, like implied in their history.
Yeah,
but we don't see a Sith.
We get cool speed shoes.
I do like those.
That was pretty hot. I want more of that.
I think like
I like her character model also.
My familiarity as a white American man who watches a lot of anime and reads manga, with Japanese storytelling, feels like there's a lot of like hitting folklore traditionalism that happens in Japanese storytelling and trying to tell that kind of story with Star Wars. Cause like, I feel like that's a lot of what like coming into the place and learning about like the village and the, like, we've seen that kind of thing happen in Dragon Ball, like classic Dragon Ball. Right. And I feel like that's kind of what they wanted to go for. And that might just be a different kind of storytelling that a different culture has a fondness for, and I just don't.
Yeah.
And it just didn't give me as much as I wanted out of it. And it definitely made me go like, this world is pretty.
Yeah.
I like it. It feels unique, but I don't feel like I'm seeing everything I could see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To your point, like one of the things I do like about the world is it's not MAGA. What do they call their version of the Force?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. This was
But they have like a version of they're attuned to their planet very much in the same way that a Jedi is attuned to the Force, and implying that it is the same thing. The Force and whatever this is, they are the same thing. And I do really like that kind of. There's a line that she has. I wonder if I wrote this line down. I don't think I didn't. But she's like, whatever this thing is, and then may the Force be with you. Like she's saying both to acknowledge both, and then she goes into the fight after she takes off her mask, which is a sweet ass mask. So I do really like that kind of aspect of it, and I kind of feel like if this was just an exploration of that, there's just kind of more here, but dedicating so much of the story to this village bride, as it were, just kind of takes the wind out of its sails.
Yeah.
The bad guys had a Millennium Falcon ship, and that was cool. I like seeing bad guys have that.
Yeah. And an interesting, like, got battle droids again. I thought that was fun.
I like the old dude with the sniper rifle, and he threw his helmet and became a rocket.
It's so good. I love when he throws his helmet. I love the battle droids being like, whoa, it's coming. Oh, what is it? What's it gonna do? It did nothing. Where? Like, battle droid humor is always kind of a plus for me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, we talked about her shoes. Her shoes are great. I don't have a lot else to say about it.
I had little notes on this one.
Yeah, I felt how there was something unique about this. And I just don't feel like we went far enough. Ooh, I will say I did like the kind of like gotcha in the beginning when he's like messing with the electronics and then he pulls up what looks like a lightsaber and then he flicks the switch and it like branches out into like the little like scanning device thing that's attached to his thing. And I'm like, good fake out. Good fake out.
I really love her saber. I like her saber design.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. And yeah, there's really not much more I want to add about this one. Yeah, I did like it though.
Yeah, it's just one of those times where you're like, I feel like there's more potential than what I got on the bone here. Sure.
So then let's move on to The Ninth Jedi.
Oh yeah, baby.
Directed by Kenji Kamiyama, written and directed by Kenji Kamiyama. Production IG is the studio.
Yes.
This one's very cool.
This one's my favorite by far.
It might be mine as well.
This is not just my favorite. Like this is like as we were watching it, I'm like, God, I wish this was what The Force Awakens was, because this is giving us exactly what that thing is. It is giving us a new perspective. It's so far in the future where things are mysterious. It's not just 20 years in the future or whatever. But we are getting the things that are familiar. We are getting things that are so very different. Everything is different but familiar. And that is the type of like remake reboot thing that I wanted. And I love The Force Awakens, but like it is very Star Wars. You know what it is.
Yeah.
This is like, man, this is the future. This is the 200 years in the future comic book that I would read. Like I fell in love with this from the get-go. I think it's beautifully animated. It has such a like respect and love for like what the Force is and what lightsabers are. It feels like the most like complete story. And these are all short things, but like this feels like a complete thing that I want to know more of. This like was the most complete package for me of all of them.
I'll speak to some of what Ryan was just saying, which is that like because we were watching it together and sharing the same thoughts, like Force Awakens, like just to quickly paint that picture parallel, like can you imagine if our main girl here was how we were introduced to Rey as like this daughter of a sabersmith and the Jedi are like long, forgotten, and it's all part of this setup. Same kind of deal. Like there's a person luring them there, and you can even have some of them have been like former members of Luke's Jedi Order, but Luke's like no longer part of the picture as far as they're concerned.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that your guy who's inside the droid, that's Luke, and Luke knew that the Sith were gathering. This is how he lures them out, and some of them get away, and that's the Sith you're dealing with for the next trilogy. And I'm like, man, that would be nuts. That would just be nuts.
That reveal of them all being Sith with red lightsabers was incredible. Didn't expect it. Love it.
Immediately when she has like the lightsaber that can't like quite form its shape and color, I was like, oh, look at Rey from nowhere. Like what a good like visual parallel that would have been.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. Now that you said that, I can totally see it, and I want it. This is my second favorite. I really like this one. One of the thing that I really, really, really adore about this one is the lightsaber lore. I love kyber crystals. I'm glad that everybody and their mother talks about kyber crystals now. They're everywhere in Star Wars, new canon, fine. But I really like the idea, because this was my headcanon back before I knew what a kyber crystal was, that whatever your alignment in the Force was how your lightsaber blade was chosen for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when I see this, and I'm like, oh, right, this is really cool, because we don't know that they're Sith, because they didn't hold the other lightsaber. The guy who's clearly a Jedi holds his lightsaber. Right. And they are obviously they're revealed to be Sith because they're going to give up the game at the moment. But like, it's such a good reveal of their lightsabers are red because that's their alignment. They didn't have to bleed a kyber crystal. That's just how they have aligned in the Force.
Right.
And there's the one guy, Hamu.
I don't remember.
Amnu?
Yeah, I think so.
He's a big boy.
Where he's fighting with the Sith, and then when all the Sith are gone, his lightsaber changes color.
Yeah,
and to his alignment.
And then our hero guy's like,
Homan.
I can sense it in you, Homan. Like they're still good in you. Like this doesn't have to happen. And I'm like, oh my God, you literally see it happen in front of you. Like,
yeah.
That is such a brilliant idea.
The transition, the visual transition of both her saber becoming green like from its disparity into a full green saber, and his shifting from the red to the purple. If you're watching as like more of the Sith go away, it's like slowly changing.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, this is so cool. No, you're absolutely right. Like what they decided to do with like, let's bend the rules on what we can do with lightsaber lore. And like you can even still leave it in the world of Star Wars, like if you really want to, because like they say it's specifically a thing that the sabersmith makes.
Yeah.
That makes it reactive. And that's such an incredibly cool idea. And it does set up like genius reveal. Just incredible when they all ignite and they're all red because they're in Jedi trappings. You expect them to be Jedi.
And the
you
guy
have no reason to think this is false.
And the guy who brought them all together is like a evil looking robot man.
Yeah.
So of course you already, what your brain does is like, that's the bad guy. These are the good guys. Like I know what's going to happen.
Right.
And like, then a cool dude pops out of there.
And then he pops out of his droid.
The action is great, and I want to real quickly highlight just more things of the saber, because this thing I really gravitated towards most for this is the saber lore. The young girl, our lead, when she holds her saber and it's not quite formed yet, the size isn't the same. It keeps fluctuating in size. It doesn't have a color. I love that look so much, of just kind of this translucent lightsaber that still can function as a lightsaber. It's just she is not strong in the Force yet, and her arc of like becoming strong with the light side of the Force and being showcased through that saber is so brilliant. It's so brilliant.
And I love, again, like it being so far in the future that like none of these people have like they don't know, they haven't like seen a lightsaber or touched one in a while. So like the thing that I love about it is like I wrote in my notes, like they are in awe of the lightsaber the first time that they see it. Like they revere it. And again, you're still thinking these are good guys. It's like when that moment happens, it's like, oh my God, no, he built all those lightsabers for you.
There was a lot of things in Visions that I kind of wish were just canon, but not necessarily like storylines, but like thematically that I wish were in canon, and this is one of them.
I mean,
this might be the biggest one.
As far as I'm concerned, like this is centuries down the line.
Yeah.
This is Star Wars.
But what I mean to say is, like, as far as like the lightsaber lore of the blade being the color of the alignment rather than the color of the crystal. And the bleeding crystal, I think you can get some interesting stuff out of the bleeding crystal scenes, but I never really gravitated towards it as like a thing.
How far are you in Survivor, Brandon?
Oh, not very far.
Okay. Then you haven't hit the point about a crystal thing yet. Okay.
But like, because like Vader, so Darth Vader comic, real quick, just to finish my thought, the Darth Vader comic, when he goes to find his new saber, so he bleeds the kyber crystal, and I'm like, this is cool and this is whatever. It's just I like it fine, and I'm fine with it being a canon, but I prefer this, and I wish this was the canon.
I pretty much agree with you. I think mainly because like what you just gave is the same example I would have given, which is like the prime example about bleeding a kyber crystal. And then otherwise we don't get a lot of that story from our main characters. We don't see it in any of the animated shows or in the films. So like it hasn't happened in a visual language way outside of comics. And I like that Darth Vader sequence a lot. I think the most important part of that is that like in the bid for the kyber crystal to keep him on the light side, it shows him the vision of him like going to Obi-Wan and saying he's sorry and giving up his life, and then Anakin responding with hell no, I'm not doing that. like it makes like the rage of how he turns from Anakin to Vader feel like how you had to commit to it, what choices you have to make. Like it makes it visually very strong. But because that's like the only time we have to point to where like the bleeding of a kyber crystal is a really prevalent thing. Like I would kill for us to at some point get a Tales of the Jedi story of how Dooku got his. Like how did he bleed a crystal? What did that do to him? Yeah. Knowing like how conflicted especially him was about his decision to go to the Sith. Like there's a Kylo Ren comic where Kylo bleeds a crystal, and I'm like, okay, but I kind of wish that was in the movie. Like I know that he is already Knights of Ren or Sith or whatever they want to call them. By the time we get to Force Awakens, but like I would have liked to have seen, like, if you're going to make bleeding a crystal so important to the canon, to show it in a movie. Like I want to see that. I want to see it. Yeah, I agree. Or at bare minimum, like I want to see it in an animated show by now.
What about a video game, guys?
Well, a video game will make me feel pretty good.
Well, I'll keep playing Jedi Survivor to find out.
Cool. But I agree with you. Like this idea is cool, and I wouldn't even mind if like they found a way to work it into Star Wars at this point, where like down the road again, like this idea, it's Star Wars, and I'll accept that. Like, oh yeah, we got this guy who like makes it so that the kyber crystal is reactive to the way that the person who's wielding it is attuned to the Force, and then be like, that's it, that's the answer, and I'm like, wow, cool. So this one particular person knows how to make great lightsabers. Like that's all you need. Getting back to like specifically this short real quick, unless you had something you specifically wanted to spot in there.
I was just going to get back to the short. Also, I just wanted to say that because we're speaking of this kind of lightsaber idea, I really like when the guy comes out of the droid and he takes a lightsaber and turns it green.
Yeah.
Just by holding it. Awesome. And I really like the swirl that he's got on it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the lightsaber lore is like really, really tasty in the short, but then everything else around it is also so good. It just elevates the material. The action scene in the chase is so good.
Yes.
I just love it. It's incredible looking animation. It's fast. It's fun. It feels like it really, like, you're right. It feels like just like that feeling, to be honest with you, it feels like that feeling you get when you first saw Force Awakens for the first time and you're like, oh, this is all wild and new. What's going to happen? And like, it had that same, like, whoa, what's going on kind of vibe to it. And I really, really like that.
And it's also, this is one of the longer ones too.
Yeah.
One, I think this one was a 25-minute one. I'm like, I could use another 5, baby.
The music, this is the other one where I would spot like the music was especially good.
There's some droids in here who are drinking tea. Never seen those before.
One droid drinking tea and the others are just like
out. Oh, they're like drunk asleep.
This one, by the way, is the one that I felt most was, begging is not the right word, but very clearly like, follow us into the next adventure. We know you want it.
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, I do.
What 100%, and in a way where like I wasn't mad about it because I loved this short so much, but I was definitely like, nah, like you gotta tell me the next story now, my friend. You have unlocked what is, for my headcanon at the moment, the very far future of Star
Episode
Wars.
10, for as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
And because I really like how it ends. The short is very well constructed. It's very well paced. It's very well done. And we're like it very much have the same feeling of The Village Bride, but for different reasons. Like for The Village Bride, I was like, okay, well, I didn't really get a lot here, so tell me the next story. Where here, I'm like, I got a lot here, and you set up a sequel that I really do want to see.
Yeah, like you want to see her go get her dad and that.
Yes.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. No, it does feel like, man, that's right there. Like, go tell me the next story, please.
This is one of the ones where I'm like, I don't need a whole series, but like I could do a mini series.
So they send down these Jedi hunters to the planet, and when they come down in what I can only describe as what looks like a flying tank.
Oh yeah,
like by our standards, it looks like something out of Gundam. It just like is a tank that just like flies on down, and I was like, okay, I'm way about like, let's just get really weird with where our designs are at this point.
I want to highlight one last thing, which is that as the kind of bookends of like, okay, well, we had the introduction, and then we zoom into the kind of space station, and we like kind of like turn it, but when we end it and we turn it back, and it's revealed that it's just been a lightsaber the whole time.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, it's really good.
Banger.
It's a 10 out of 10 for sure. I really, really love this one. I love that there's this energy, like, even though I did not see the twist coming, but I will say that there was like this weird vibe of like, you could feel that all the Jedi in that room, the Jedi who are actually the Sith, they were really like there's this obsession with getting their hands on a lightsaber. Like the lightsaber is the finite thing that makes you like what you are. And I'm like, I feel like that's so much not what the Force has ever been about. It's one of the things that I felt running through Visions in general is like most of them have a very strong like idea of what it means to wield a lightsaber. I do think that this ties in a lot to just like go all the way back to the duel, like doing the Kurosawa stuff. Like one of the things they're most directly drawn towards in looking at like Japanese folklore and how Japanese folklore influenced Star Wars because of Kurosawa is like the lightsaber is really important. So the lightsaber feels like it's very important in pretty much every story except for one in all of these Vision Volume 1 stories. And I feel like sometimes, not in any way where it makes like any of the shorts particularly bad for this, but like it does feel like it gets further away from like what is the Force without a lightsaber?
Yes.
And I feel like this
the original
one,
trilogy has very little lightsabers.
Well, and I feel like this one rides that line of like the lightsabers are unique, but like it's also part of the point of like all these guys who have been so focused on getting the lightsaber, like they all go down. They all go down relatively quickly. Like they are not
training.
They are not in tune with the Force.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is embedded there, even if they're not directly saying it in words in the short, is that the Force is not just the ability to wield the lightsaber.
I think it does help that they are Sith, and that's what they think they need.
Right.
I think they need the power of a lightsaber.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think that's an important aspect of it as well. But like just that like the lightsaber is not the only thing
it's put on a
that
pedestal.
defines your connection to the Force. And I feel like this most directly tackled it by tackling lightsabers so much. It kind of left open the door of like there's so much more to it than just this lightsaber.
No, I
really want more to this one. Like I love the twins. I would love to get a sequel to the twins. This is the one where I'm like craving more to the story.
Right.
This is what the one we first see the Force lightning, right? In these shorts.
Ooh,
we've seen it a couple times.
Good
different
question.
Colors too.
But is this the first time we've seen it? No, we saw Force lightning in the twins.
Yeah, the twins.
Oh, you're right, the twins. But in this one, it's used as kind of like it's used because he's angry. Right. And he doesn't know how to control it. Right. And so he's like his attunement to the Force is to the dark side, but it's unstable.
This is exactly that's exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up because that's exactly fitting into the point I'm making, which is like, the lightsaber is one thing, but the Force is more.
Yeah.
God, when he gets knocked onto the piece and burns up, it's so gnarly.
So good.
Gosh. Yeah, I loved it. I loved this story. I also like the reveal of Homan being like, Homan, you're not like this. And he's like, oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I was being affected by the dark side.
The homies. They got me.
And then we go off into another adventure. Now look, it's been 2 years and it's unlikely we're gonna get that other adventure, but I really hope we do.
I'm just saying, of all the ones to get a book, I feel like
it should be this one.
It shouldn't have been the one that felt just like a nice little duel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my kind of issue with the book for it, because like I'm sure they did it because they wanted to capitalize on the initial excitement for the Visions was the duel, and people were like, "Oh, that looks so cool! I want to see that." So they wrote the book to capitalize on that. But the problem with that is, after I'm done with the duel, I don't want to go back to that story. I don't want to see more in that world, not instinctively.
Yeah.
But I really wish they had waited before creating supplementary material, because then they could have seen like, oh, actually the Ninth Jedi is the one that we should make more for.
To be honest, it bums me out that I feel like I didn't hear a lot about the Ninth Jedi when this came out.
No.
And like, I do feel like there's an amount of the majority of the Star Wars audience on Disney Plus probably didn't watch enough of Visions to get deep enough to see this one. Unfortunately, like that feels very real, like that they probably tapped out around the twins. Like,
yeah, I think that's kind of the thing of like, I was always concerned that we wouldn't get more Visions because it didn't do very well. I mean, it just didn't, because the audience, the Disney Plus Star Wars audience, as Spark said, is absolutely correct. Like, they're not anime watchers. The Venn diagram doesn't overlap very much.
Well, even if you are, like, let's say you got all the way to the twins and you enjoyed everything you saw, you get hit with the Village Bride after that might kill your steam.
Yeah.
Let's, like being honest, like, we're not that big fans of it. If you are not someone who enjoys anime on the regular or is open to it, then I can see where that just kind of truncates your journey in Visions. And so you don't get to this point. You don't get to this really cool idea.
I do wonder if this had done better, because there was not a lot of buzz for Visions when it first came out. I do wonder if this had done better, would this volume 2 that's coming out look different? And I wonder how much of volume 2 being from all sorts of different countries and making that kind of the draw in creating countries with well-liked animated shows that have done very well in America, working on Visions. I wonder if that is a response to Visions 1 not doing as well.
I think it's possible. I think there probably was always a desire to expand it beyond just the anime studios of Japan. And I'm glad that they're doing that. Like, I know there's a whole section of people who love animation who, like, they might not watch all of Visions Volume 2, but they're going to watch the one by the studio that made Wolfwalkers. Like, they're going to watch that one because they love that animation. They love that studio. And so I do think, like, it's good. You're only going to get more people open to branching in that direction, and doing that with Visions Volume 2 will open the door to people being like, okay, I might not be immediately crazy about the anime style of animation in Visions Volume 1, but maybe I can be picky and choosy and see what kind of stories there might have appealed to me.
Yeah.
Right. And that might lead them to like 2B1 or Tatooine Rhapsody instead, but like wherever they land, I think it's always good to just like diversify what animation can mean, because I think far too often people who don't want to spend a lot of time with animation becomes very narrow in like what is possible.
That's true.
Yeah. That's the kind of content you get here on Animation Station.
Hey, The Ninth Jedi is great.
It's true. All of it.
All right, so should we move on to TOB1?
Toby!
Directed by Abel Gongora, written by Yuichiro Kido, studio is Science Saru.
Yeah. What if
like
Mega Man in Star Wars?
I was thinking Astro Boy, but yeah, Mega Man works better.
They're essentially the same in the context of what we're saying here.
Sure.
I go to yeah, they're essentially the same.
Mega Man's
like
inspired by Astro Boy, so they're both,
yeah.
They're literally both have old guys with mustache. Yeah,
we're talking like Zorro and Robin Hood to Batman here.
Yeah,
sure.
I really like I think this one's charming.
Yeah.
I really, really like the animation style. I specifically like it when he's doing his
the daydream part.
Yes, his childhood imagination of like, I'm a Jedi, and I'm like, well, that looks exactly what like everyone's childhood imagination of I'm a Jedi is: nonsensically running through space, waving your lightsaber, battling ships. Like all the trappings are there. Space doesn't really make sense, and that's okay because that's how it looks.
I wrote my first thought was, I love all the tiny cute robots. He just has a gaggle of little robot friends, and some of them get murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did too. I really like the animation to this one. I really like the idea of a droid becoming a Jedi, which is not something we'll probably ever see explored in Star Wars. Well, I wouldn't say ever. It might be a while, but we might see it
soon.
Yeah. I won't say never, because Star Wars will go on for a really long time, and eventually they'll probably loop around to it.
I think we're every day. I think we get closer to a honest discussion about droid sentience and what that means in Star Wars.
Just inching a little bit.
Every year, a little bit closer.
Yeah.
Oh my god! If you wanted to do that through a droid Jedi, I'd be so into that.
I 100% believe that's what happens, because like anyone who, like, let's say if these conversations have happened in Star Wars before and they're always like, yeah, but they're droids. The moment a droid can use the Force, changes the entire conversation.
I've seen General Grievous kill a couple Jedi before. Not like they can't do it. They're not. They're capable.
Well, but he's a
cyborg. Sorry, a cyborg.
But he also doesn't use the Force.
He also doesn't.
I know. I'm saying like droids are capable still.
But that's the thing. Is like if something that like by definition can't have midichlorians in it is able to use the Force, it would also go to show like, man, we don't know everything we know about science.
Who's going to be the robot Jesus? That's going to be really funny. The one guy the pit droid who could.
I really like his design. TOB1, I think he's a good design. And I like this idea of a droid dreaming about being a Jedi and being able to become one is really endearing, and something that I really like to see. Again, that goes back to the kind of imagination that Visions is allowed to play with.
Yes, 100%. I think specifically, like, this is just charming and cute to begin with, but like the style is so colorful and it looks so good when it's in motion. A lot of the action scenes and then just like fast movement, like it all looks so really pretty. Like they didn't get too detailed, but they got the right amount of detail in the right places that it just really, really stands out and pops off the screen. So it's a visual treat in a different way, but a similar way, if that sentence makes any sense, to the twins. It's not doing the same contextual style of the twins, but in the same way that the twins pops off the screen, this pops off the screen.
Yeah, I agree with that. We also get an Inquisitor in this short.
Hell
yeah.
One of my favorite things about this is that having a droid Jedi means that the droid can combine with other droids like CO3 and then have like mech armor and a jetpack.
That came out, I didn't expect that.
And I'm like, yo, okay, let's go.
Mecha anime, all of a sudden I'm into it.
The guy who made him we learned was a Jedi, and I really
are Jedi.
We had been talking for a long time about Mace Windu using the Force without any hands, and to get it in this character was really cool.
Yeah. I somehow missed the beginning part of the episode where he didn't have arms, but then he did a cool Force push with just his sleeves, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I kind of wish we got to see the fight.
It's a good fight. I also really I think it's really cute and how he first thing, rather than chasing revenge, he dedicates himself to fulfilling the dream, and restoring life to the planet, which I think is really cool.
The reveal is pretty heavy-handed to say that this is modeled at least after this man's old Padawan, Toby.
Right.
I find that very sweet. It's an idea that you don't really need to put in this short, but it just kind of adds an extra level of emotionality to it.
Yeah.
That this droid is basically the reincarnation of this Padawan. And that's kind of that also explains why he's dreams about being a Jedi, why he looks that way he does when he's a Jedi.
I'm a real Jedi.
I like that.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Tritto.
All right. Move on to The Elder.
Let's do it.
The Eldar.
Written and directed by Machiko Atsuka. And this is the Masahiko, thank you. Oh yeah, that is an A. Masahiko. Then this is the second short by Studio Trigger.
Studio Trigger is very good at doing animation in general. That's very true. I find this the second weakest. It's just above The Village Bride. It's way too talky.
Yeah.
Not in a way that's giving me any I think the worst thing about it is that it's very talky and in a way where I'm like, this feels like conversations I've read in a comic book about Star Wars stuff. I've watched Jedis have this conversation.
It's just like generic, like the most generic, like a guy and his Padawan having a conversation. Like it lasted so long, and by the time I got to the fight, like the fight didn't last long enough for me, and I'm just like, man, Trigger, like at least it looks nice, I guess.
Hey. It brings back rain steam on lightsabers, and I love that.
I love rain steam. Big fan of the steam on the rain. Love it.
The Qui-Gon lookalike is David Harbour.
Sure.
Oh, okay.
I hear that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't think it, for me, is the second weakest. I might say it's... Well, maybe. I'd have to really think about it. This one's really interestingly paced, and I don't mean interestingly as a good thing. It's just kind of really.
I would say it's poorly paced.
It grinds itself to a halt for no reason, and I think it's meant to be like this kind of like think Jedi piece of what this master is teaching this Padawan, and I'm endeared towards this master because he looks like Qui-Gon. He looks like anime Qui-Gon. Sure. So I do like this character model specifically. And so I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'm kind of vibing with what you're giving me here, but also to Spark's point, rightfully so, you're not really giving me anything I haven't seen already.
The problem is this is an anime that I've seen before in terms of really taking its time, standing around slow with the characters so that they give me a lot of exposition about the world and what's going on. The problem is that I'm not familiar with the worlds where that anime happens and does that. I am familiar with the world of Star Wars, and there's not a lot of difference between this version of the world and the one that I watch most of the time. So this is the problem, is that it doesn't have the unique flavor that a lot of them do, including The Village Bride, to warrant this amount of expositional time.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of bored for a decent chunk of it.
I do think like the action fight, like the Padawan fight's not really a fight because he gets his ass kicked, but like the fight with anime Qui-Gon, it's fine, it's cool. I like the idea of this Sith Lord who's just so old, he's not as powerful as he used to be, so that's how he gets defeated. I think that's a cool idea.
I will say it's maybe one of my favorite, like, put it in a different package. I do like the Jedi lesson, which is that, like, you tell me a story about Jedi and Padawan, and like the lesson they learned from this is that, like, the reason I couldn't beat him is because he was weak, because he's old, because power isn't permanent. So he's like, so power isn't important. It's like, no, power is important. Just know it's not permanent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a really good lesson to give a Jedi Padawan. I like that specific idea in this story is a very good Jedi to Padawan lesson. Just like way too long to tell it and not as interestingly given.
No, not unlimited power in this one.
Yeah, there's a couple things I do like about it that I want to say. I really like I like Katana Sith blades, or just Katana lightsaber blades. I think they look awesome. So this has 2 of them, and I'm happy about that.
Sure.
And I like how the Master kills the Sith with this kind of this fake out, and then like goes in and then turns on the lightsaber. I think that's pretty cool.
It felt like the reverse of Qui-Gon and Darth Maul, because he's very much Qui-Gon modeled, right?
Yeah.
So instead of the
he even stands like Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
He even stands like Qui-Gon.
Yeah, instead of the hit up that goes for the stomach to kill him, like he does like a fake out to get in there and do the same to
get in there.
This guy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you guys are absolutely right about this one. It's not yeah, I don't really have a lot about this one to say.
Yeah. It took like, again, like I don't mind like a full dialogue episode, but like it has to be interesting.
Yeah.
Like it's not something I've heard 100 times in other Jedi stories before.
Let's move on to Lop and Ocho.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Directed by Yuki Igarashi. Igarashi?
Yeah, Igarashi.
Yep.
Written by no, I got nothing with this one. Sayawaka. Thank you. Studio is
Yuki Igarashi directed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you said written twice at first, so I just wanted to clarify.
I bet.
No, it's okay. You were trying to focus on the names. I get
it. Studio is Geno Studio.
Yeah.
Geno Studio.
Yeah.
This is the Ghost in the Shell crew.
Yeah.
This is probably my second favorite one behind the Ninth Jedi. Man, again, this is just like another perfect. This is a full package story. This has probably my favorite like story out of all of them. I think it has like I love like the stuff in the lore of the Ninth Sister, but I think like the character stuff is the strongest in this with Lop and Ocho. Like the sister stuff with Ocho, her turning to the bad side, I love it. And she keeps getting eviler. Like she gets the white outfit and she cuts her hair. Like I love it. Gets
real dramatic and puts blood on her eyes.
It's awesome. It's so metal. I just think it's really cool, and having like a cool bunny lady, like an anime bunny lady as your lead, is really cool. The action's great. Again, this is like another full package one for me.
Hey, I love anytime you're willing to put a scouter in Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I will put this at third, and like I want to be very clear about my love for the twins. Like it is, if it was directed by anyone else other than Hiroyuki Imaishi, that short would not work as much for me.
Of course, as most things that have Imaishi behind it.
Like it is very much working toward like that short is working towards a sensibility that I am enamored with.
Yeah.
But this would be my third favorite after the Ninth Jedi. And honestly, like it could be interchangeable. Like I like the Ninth Jedi a lot and I like this one a lot, and they could just like switch it depending on which one I'm in the mood for. Like,
look, I'm in full agreement that this and the Ninth Jedi and the twins are all in my upper three for sure.
Yeah.
Like this one is very, very good. This one does, however, suffer from the problem where like when it ended, I don't mind a grim ending, and we'll get into that with the next one. But like what does bum me out is that I'm like, again, this is one of those situations where I'm like, I'm very confident I'll never see any more of this.
Yeah.
Tell me the whole story about these sisters. Like you're a short, just take me through the whole story. Give me everything you got. And when it ended with her like rising up on the ship and then flying away, I was like, that's not quite as satisfying as I want it to be for a short.
Yeah, she's a lot. It's like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
This is the first mention of Dank Farrik. I love fake Star Wars swear words.
Yeah.
I love it. I think I wrote this down. I wrote crispy, and that means crispy animation. All of these shorts are incredible looking. In terms of just pure 2D animation, I think this is the best one. I think with Lop, the way she's moving around, it is so fluid. It is so crisp. Oh my gosh, it's like a Pringle, you guys. I love it. I think this looks just incredible. You already mentioned the Scouter. I just love. I'm not a big fan of like furries, animal, like that's I can give or take it, but like Lop for some reason, it's like I really connected with it. I like her vibe. I like her energy. Again, I like the stuff with her sister. Like, it's the type of thing where like. That is a real ass thing. Like, if you're in an underdeveloped place and this big country is coming, hey, they're going to come help us. They're going to save us from poverty. I don't know they're the bad guys, but they're here. They say they want to help us. Of course, we need help. I'm going to take their help. That's a realistic, believable thing. I get that. Right. They just don't know that it's an evil fascist and Darth Vader and stuff. But like, I thought that was really, really like emotional, and I thought it was really good.
I agree with that. I also think that the heart of the story that is inside of that about, being adopted into this family, being regarded as actually truly a daughter and part of this family is such an important and like key part of what makes it so emotionally gripping. And again, it's one of the reasons why I'm like, when we get to the end, I'm like, kind of want the conclusion to this. It feels like this is a short, like, give me the whole story.
Yeah, sure.
But I agree with you. I think like that's so it feels so tangible and real in an emotional way that some of the like very connectable in a way that not all the shorts necessarily could. Yeah. This one is really speaking to something that I think is grabbing at, for a lot of people, something that feels very connecting. And I think that's really, really solid. Another thing I want to highlight before I throw it over to Brandon is you talked about like just the fluid motion and everything. The other thing is this might be some of my favorite environments in all of Visions.
Yeah.
The environments on this planet look incredible. Yeah. Just incredible.
We open on a great shot of a Star Destroyer coming out of Lightspeed and then going into the planet, and we're just kind of like following. It's really cool. I really love the idea of, and you guys have already kind of talked about it a little bit, and I just want to throw my 2 cents in. The idea that like it was this girl, it was Ocho, who was like, we can adopt her. Let's adopt her. Let's bring her into the family. Like, your family now. And the dad was not interested in it, but by the end of the short, it's completely switched. Like, now the dad sees Lop as a daughter, and Ocho doesn't see Lop as a sister. And it's such an interesting dynamic and dichotomy that I think this short plays off really well.
Well, I think it's one of the advantages of why they made a bunny girl is that Ocho very much has this vibe, like when she first sees her, that she sees her as a pet.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Not as a person. Yeah. Like not as a relatable,
can we
like
keep her?
The same as me kind of being. And so it makes sense that to her, it's very much like, it's so based in like, this is really fluffy and cute and I want to have it around. But yeah, when it comes up to the point, like far down the line, when the years have passed and she's supposed to look at her as a sister, she doesn't, because like she's never seen her as equal. And I think that's very much there. I think that's how, like, it's the way that even in like the state of how they meet her and how her father is talking about the situation, how downtrodden she is, that Ocho's just like gleaming at her, but there's like this hunger in her eyes. Like in that moment, she knows she's going to possess her. Mm-hmm. And like, that's part of it, right? Like this idea of like ownership over her that she feels she should have. Yeah. They are not the same in Ocho's eyes. And I think that's really, really prevalent. It's another reason, again, that I'm like, yeah, just give me the end of that whole arc. It's so good.
Yeah.
You've talked about it already, but I really like one of the things that we talked about as far as like the Ninth Jedi goes, like in all of these, you said it really, really, really succinctly, that all of these really dive into lightsaber lore and this idea of like these lightsabers are very important to these stories. Much here, so not to throw shade at the sequel trilogy, but I never quite understood why Anakin's lightsaber was so important to the story of the sequel trilogy, and because I just never really got that from the mainline canon of Star Wars, that lightsabers were this important thing outside of just being a weapon for Jedi. I really like thematically making this kind of. I really wish that this kind of lightsaber lore storytelling was more prevalent in canon Star Wars, because I think that'd be really interesting and would really help kind of make the lightsabers. Like I've always talked about, like what I prefer about Star Wars is show me a Senate scene over a lightsaber battle any day. I like both, but I'll go with the Senate scene. But like if you were to put in this kind of effort to the lightsaber lore, I would be far more endeared to lightsabers than I currently am within canon, you know?
Right. And I think that comes from like just like different viewpoints of what they were going to do with the lightsaber. You know, like I don't mind real quick. I love The Last Jedi. I don't mind Rian Johnson's decision to have Luke toss it over his shoulder. However, I do find it a little bizarre that there's never a story or an acknowledgement for Luke of like, how did this even get here? Like, this thing fell down Cloud City with
His
my
hand got chopped
the
off.
last time I saw it. Like this is crazy. How did this end up here?
Since real quick, since we're just talking about this, do you guys remember that crazy rumor that like it was gonna open with like Luke's like hand like in floating in space or something weird, or like it was floating in like Bespin City and someone was gonna go retrieve it and you would see Luke's hand and it's like the opening shot of the movie with his lightsaber in his hand or something stupid. I'm like, I'm glad we never saw that.
Well, because like Maz Kanata, I don't want to derail too much, but like Maz Kanata says, when asked how'd you get this, and like it's a story for another time. We never get that story. We have never got that story.
Right. And like I don't even need that story necessarily in the film, but I do think it is unusual for a character such as Luke to have had this, and I do think he did, a reverence for not only the first lightsaber he handled, but the one that was given to him by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the one that belonged to his father. And like there would be an amount of like, you lost that thing in a fight with your dad on Bespin and someone has just put it in front of you again. I think there would be a little bit more of like, even if you're going to toss it over your shoulder,
look at it,
you're going to come back around on that a little later and be like, how did you get this? Like when Rey has it later in her hand, like how did this get here? Like, what does this mean to you? Like, there is an amount of, you could have drawn the strings a little better. So all that to be said, like to your point of what you're saying, yeah, that was an opportunity, I think, to make the lightsaber mean something more. And I feel like, regardless of other decisions I really love about what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi, that zag didn't really work with the zigs that were setting it up. Anyway, what I really like about the lore here is there's a read you can have, correct or not, that a person, a Jedi, was there at one point with a lightsaber protecting this place, and then passed it down to of this family of like people that they trusted, but not necessarily force sensitive people.
Yeah.
And then that when Lob gets it, Lob happens to have been force sensitive, and so it means all the more like this connection for her with it. You could give that read. I'm not going to say that's necessarily correct or wrong, because there's also the bit where the father like pushes his hands down and then like the force seems to bloom up around them. So like how force sensitive is he? I don't know. But I do feel like there's some fun just to be had there. I didn't need the answers to those questions. That's not my point. I just think that they left open the right amount of like doing something unique with what they had on the what they had on the table for Star Wars within the world that they decided to construct.
Once again, I'm going to highlight Katana Blade. Love it. And I really like the handle in this one. Beautifully rendered. One of the things I love so much about this blade is that it has Japanese characters.
That's one of my favorite things.
It's in it. That's incredible.
It was super, super cool.
I really like that too. I thought that was very, very cool. This is a really nice one. I really love the dynamic. I love the droid constantly trying to like put the picture back up front.
Oh,
this is the one. So the twins makes me cry for a completely different reason. This is the one where I cried for like emotional reasons. Like, you really hurt me in the heart. I don't know what's going on outside. I apologize.
I can't hear it.
I'm glad, because there's a car farting outside. So the droid showing the image at the end, like, the waterworks started.
This is the little yellow droid, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
the little box
droid.
droid.
I love, again, like seeing so many different cool designs. Like, I've never seen that type of droid before. I love it.
I will say just a blanket statement across Visions. All of these different droid designs are awesome.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different droid designs all over the place, and I think they're all fun.
Yeah, I really like when Star Wars plays with droid designs. Star Wars, I talk about it like for like a lot, where like every Star Wars show has introduced, almost every Star Wars show or movie has introduced a new different droid that's trying to like be R2D2 again, but not really R2D2 again. And the Bad Batch always makes me laugh because they just decided to use a gonk droid.
Gonk droids, they're the best.
I know, but like they're just like, we're not going to make a new one. It's just a gonk droid.
Yeah.
But and like Andor even has a cute little new droid, and he's incredible.
He's an emo.
And I really like that Visions kind of continues that trend of like, okay, we're just going to make new droids here. We're going to have fun with these designs
for sure.
Yeah.
I was checking my notes and I wrote, I'm obsessed with this art style. So that's how
again, man, this was the
cared.
crispiest looking one. Like they're all
oh
great.
Man,
this was like an anime-ass anime.
The speeder going through and you see it like do the Dom Toretto lift up and then blast off. Awesome.
I really like the Admiral we encounter on the bridge. Just
the Joker.
Yeah. Just a good Admiral design, good performance. Like I was like, yep, that's an Imperial Admiral who thinks they're the shit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Really enjoyed that. Another thing I want to spotlight, there's this one bit where we're looking like through the black and white storytelling pieces as it's scanning from left to right of him talking about the family history, and we get the focus on the at the end on the Jedi symbol, but the Jedi symbol is a crane making the symbol in that case. And I was like, that's pretty good, y'all. That's pretty good.
It's a new symbol. I love it.
I like this. I like this one a whole lot. The only thing, I'm not crazy about Ocha's voice actress. I wish they kind of picked a different one, but I really like this short a lot.
Like, as I've said before, like my only real note is that I'm like, this one feels like it should have given me the complete story here. Yeah. I don't mind a downer of an ending, but I feel like I was left mildly unsatisfied because I didn't get the full story of this family.
Give me more.
And I probably won't. Yeah. And that's like, ugh.
Give me a 300-page book. I'll read it.
I would.
I haven't. I mean, this goes for the whole thing, but like action scenes in this whole show are incredible. They're all just really fun and really engaging and choreographed so well. And here is no different. There's a lot of emotion in this action scene that that makes it kind of like extra juicy. I really like the action in this one. Specifically the final action.
That X slash on her body is pretty good. I really like that.
Love it.
Speaking of voice actors, real quickly, the Village Bride, the actress who plays the Village Bride is the lead actress in Suzumi. So that was kind of weird going from that to this.
Sure. Yeah. Get a little extra work.
So we move on.
Let's finish the episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker.
Close the circle.
Close the circle.
Akakiri, directed by. Oh, I did not write this one well.
Eun-Young Choi.
Eun-Young Choi, written by Yuichiro Kido.
Yes.
And this is the second one by Science Saru.
Right. And the first one was
TOB1.
Toby!
Yeah.
Yeah. So only 2 production companies did 2 shorts. Studio Trigger and Science Saru.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the most unique as far as like interpretation.
Yes. Yeah. The first thing that I noticed was that the lightsaber has like after effects.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I am always a fan of that. I love strobe lights in general. I'm a big rave fan. So like anytime the lightsabers become strobe lights, I'm like, I'm all about it. That's cool.
Yeah, I even wrote in my notes, I just really like a katana blade.
Yeah.
At least I'm consistent.
I do think like this one did the most like really reinvention. I think it doesn't necessarily just like plant Star Wars in Japanese folklore. It kind of felt like it built a whole other concept of a world while using elements of Star Wars.
So I'll be real.
Yeah.
I think this might be my least favorite.
Ooh, your least.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not sure. We've gone through them all. As we've gone through them, I think my rankings probably changed, but instinctively, that's kind of when I was finishing up my rewatch of this is kind of how I felt. And if I were to like really look at my notes and like really look at these, it's probably not the case. But I really didn't care for this one. And mostly because it's just this prequel trilogy again. And I just kind of feel like the same way about The Elder, where I'm like, I'm not really getting anything new here.
I hear you. I won't say that you're wrong. What I will say is I feel like in difference to the Elder felt like it entirely just still lived in Star Wars, essentially. Like for all intents and purposes, visually, we're just given Star Wars, more Star Wars. This one felt like it created like a whole other planet, a whole other like way of the Jedi operating, a way of the Sith being considered, all this kind of stuff, while still utilizing like all those ideas and everything. I feel like the visual language of the film is a step outside of what a lot of the other shorts have been doing, which is, you know, kind of like either really living in Star Wars or blending Star Wars inside of Japanese cultural things. And I feel like this just exists another step outside of both of those things. And that makes it a more appealing piece to me. I'll be honest with you, like part of what makes it work for me is the downer ending of it, and the idea of like you succumb to your Force visions. Like this is a place where you never should have been, in a position you never should have put yourself in. You knew exactly what you were going to end up doing. And like in the action of defying destiny, he so doing.
That is my favorite thing about it, because like throughout the episode we're getting the image of like, oh, he's slashing down someone, but like it's blurry. You have no idea what's going on. Then at the end you see, oh, he's slashing down the lady. And
in that moment before it happens is him saying like, no, I'm not going to let that happen. And then proceeds to literally do the thing that happens in the vision that makes him this. And not only that, but ends up being the one person he was trying to protect.
This also has like one of the most unique art styles, I think. Like it's an interesting look. I really like the look of Masago, like the Sith Lord. Radical design. Again, I like the look of all these people, but again, like
the Sith Lord looks particularly like nuts.
Like this is the one, like this and another one has similar, but this one has like the cool lightning during the fight, right at the end. Is that this one, or is that the different one? Is that the Elder? I think it was this one. It has like cool red lightning during their fight.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Even though I watched it yesterday, I also watched all 9 of them at once.
Jamie Chung is the girl in this one. She's the princess.
Right on.
And Henry Golding is the Jedi.
Oh, sure. Yeah. My notes wrote, you got Vader, bro. Yeah, that guy got Vader. You got prequel. Yeah. This one is like, it is a, relatively simple thing, but like, again, like they kind of just, for me, like they just hit it out of the park of like, style, more of a look than anything. Again, like, I think the ninth Jedi is kind of like, hey, Star Wars, new protagonist, like their Obi-Wan gets killed, and they have to venture out, like, poetry, it rhymes, like that's what Star Wars is. So like, I don't mind that aspect of it. It's not my favorite one, but like it has some pretty good action in it. I mean, it's no Village Bride, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm actually ranking them right now.
I agree with Ryan. Like, I really like the lightsaber duel because I like the after image on the lightsabers, and I really like that. Like, I think what works about our Sith in this one is that they know like the trap he's walking into, 100%, because they've set it up and they know he's going to fall for it, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah,
and like he's so locked into his own idea of defying destiny that he's not surveying the situation. He's not really being in tune with the Force. And that idea works for me. This is one of those ones where like I don't need more of the story. I think it tells the story exactly as much as it needed to. And like it is this just tragic, like it's a Shakespearean tragedy-esque like story of 100%. Like, and you did the thing and here you are.
I did the thing for you.
Here's your fate.
And I ended up killing you.
There you go, Macbeth.
Yeah.
Go be a Sith now. And to that end, I'm like, I don't mind a good like tragedy in here.
Sure. It's not my least. It's my second least.
There you go. I'll take it. Hey,
it's pretty low for me. I'll admit that. It's not lower than The Elder or Village Bride.
Yeah. I did say probably third last. Yeah. But hey, again, like these are all like they all got good stuff to them. None of them are bad.
It's kind of like what we talked about when we review the John Wick films, or we review like other movies, the Matrix film. Evil Dead. There's not like your least is still good.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm not having like a bad time watching it.
Yeah.
Because again, all these are relatively short. So like the worst experience, like it's over, no big deal. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
You're in and out so quickly. It's like, okay, well, I'm on to the next one, and the next one's great.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me tell you guys, I'm glad we did this. Because I would eventually, because I watch everything Star Wars eventually.
Mhm.
But I'm glad we did because, like, man, I got some of my new favorite Star Wars stuff. Like, I really like. I wish that Ninth Jedi was just like that's episode 10. We're just stealing that idea.
Yeah,
200 years in the future, we're just doing it. But that's not the world we live in. But I got this. Thank you, Visions.
maybe one day.
Maybe one day I'll be 80 years old.
Visions Volume 2 comes out May the 4th. Probably it's out by the time you're watching this.
Or either a right around it.
Yeah. Close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Since I ranked them, I'm going to say what my ranking is.
Sure.
So it's the twins, obviously. The Ninth Jedi, Lop and Ocho. Those could switch. Those could be easily like other places. Tatooine Rhapsody at number 4. TOB1 at number 5. The Duel at number 6. 7. I actually said the Village Bride. I like enough of what's happening there more than I like in other things. In these last two things, specifically with our lead character, I do like her.
Sure.
I just wish we had more of. I wish the story we got wasn't necessarily that, but I like enough of that to put it above the other two.
No, I get it.
And then Akakiri at 8, and then the Elder at 9. So yeah, the Elder's my least favorite.
It's the Ninth Jedi, the twins, Lob and Ocho, Tatooine Rhapsody. What's the other ones? Sorry.
Akakiri, Village.
No. Tatooine Rhapsody. Oh, thank you. The Duel is what I was looking for. The Duel, then after the Duel is TOB1.
Yeah.
And then Akakiri, Village Bride, The Elder.
Nice.
I'm not gonna rank all of them. My favorite one's the Ninth Jedi, and
1000%.
then Lob and Ocho.
Lob and Ocho.
And then the twins, I guess, and then the rest they're all good. They're
Yeah.
all good. They're all good.
Probably Tatooine Rhapsody pretty high up there.
Probably, yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
They all got good stuff.
Honestly, I'm actually really surprised at how good Tatooine Rhapsody is.
It's a solidly fun one. Especially if like you like very anime, then you like Tatooine Rhapsody a lot.
Or punk rock.
Yeah,
that helps too.
that does.
All right. Anything else?
Star Wars.
I continue to find it just so funny that the most light and comical is the one that's like really in the world of Star Wars.
Yeah, hanging out at Jabba's pod racing palace.
Yo, it's Boba Fett and Jabba, and here's what's going on. We didn't say it in that one, but I did also like going back to like the pod race stadium.
Yeah.
The Boonty.
Yeah. Did you notice that there's like rocks blocking the track, meaning that they don't do pod racing anymore?
Yeah.
Just a concert venue now.
Yeah.
And execution.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that too.
Concerts, come for the concerts, stay for the executions.
Exactly.
They outlawed pod racing, but not executions.
No.
Yeah. The Emperor
Which is funny because I guess that would make it truly not canon, or at least like pod racing only temporarily was shut down because the Boonta Eve classic stuff is ramping up in Mandalorian.
That's true.
Oh, you're right.
But that's also like way later. So like they
right. That's what I mean. It's like it could be shut down and reopened.
Yeah. New management.
After Jabba died, Boba Fett brought back Boonta Eve.
That's who it was. It was Boba. Thanks, Boba.
Boba Fett brought back pod racing.
He's just a big fan.
But
It's for the people.
Here's the thing. If the Book of Boba Fett gets a season 2, and it's all about how he brought the community back together by becoming a pod racing manager, 10 out of 10. I don't even care. I don't even care what's happening in the show.
Gambling and stuff.
Now it's just Fast and Furious on Tatooine with pod racing.
Oh shit! I'd watch the shit out of that.
So,
that's what I'm saying.
So Bulba Jr. is out to reclaim his dad's glory. I'd watch.
Oh my god! Oh, stop pitching the show. Disney, call us. We have $1 million idea.
His little hands.
We can't pitch anything right now. There's a strike.
Oh, that's true.
That's true.
Can't be scabbed. It's true.
We can't be scabbed.
Yeah.
Well, Sparkz, it's your show, so why don't you take us out?
Absolutely. So this has been a really wonderful episode of Animation Station. Do not doubt that we will be back for Visions Volume 2. We absolutely will. We'll probably be joined by Ben Magna, who's, I suspect, very unhappy that he missed out on the anime Star Wars discussion, but he gave us our blessing. So, we know he's fine with it, but he might cry about it a little later when he hears how good it was. So anyway, you can listen to us and him all at the Fake Nerd Podcast here on YouTube, or if you're listening on podcasts, then wherever you listen to podcasts, you can go to the Fake Nerd Podcast, fakenerdpodcast.com, lease all of our other shows. We've been doing all kinds of Star Wars discussions lately. We just talked about The Mandalorian Season 3 over on Fake Nerds Watch. We have a archive episode on Basement Arcade Pause Menu, which is our show where we talk about video games for Jedi Fallen Order because of Jedi Survivor being out, and Jedi Survivor, that'll eventually get discussed soon. We talk about all other kinds of genre topics and Star Wars topics. And in the near future, the next thing we're doing from when this comes out is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on our main show. We're talking about it, so come check it out. Probably some more for this channel, Animation Station, specifically for this show. We've got Visions Volume 2 in the near future, and then we will return to finish up a discussion on Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, the last episodes of that season, possibly with Brandon as well, I suspect. We'll see. So we're going to round that whole season out because we really like that show. And that's it. So just keep watching the space. Check out everything on Fake Nerd Podcast. You got more, Brandon?
Well, I just want to say real quickly, because I worked hard on it, the website is now up to date completely. It is working again. The website, if you go to the Fake Nerd Family tab on the website, you can now find links to The Real Score, which is our newest show.
Yeah. And Conversation 2 also is in its season 2. So check that out. Brandon does a great job talking with guests over on that show about fandom and all kinds of things. And he mentioned The Real Score. The Real Score is out there where we're talking about film scores. So if you like that, please go check that out. I think I've covered all our shows that are currently running. We talk about comics. That's sometimes a book club. It's mostly in the podcast right now. Go check all that out. All right. So until then, Ryan, where can they find you?
Hey, you could find me just having more visions about Star Wars at DJ Tony Snark 616. Excited for season 2.
Brandon?
You can find me playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor for another hour before I have to go to bed at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for CBR.com, AtomicGeekdom.com, and KaijuRamenMedia.com. I'm also now part of Kaiju Weekly live stream every Sunday. Well, probably not this Sunday. They're going to a convention. They left me.
Well, them's the breaks, kid.
Yeah, well, oh well.
You can also potentially find Brandon maybe getting into some Star Wars on Fortnite. I'm going to work real hard to make him do it. All right. And you can find me finding out what color lightsaber I get when I grab the handle at Sparkz Witty on Instagram, Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. And until then, friends, when we see you next time, we are now departing. Choo-choo!